Welcome to the Ask Dr. Deanna show. I'm Dr. Deanna Holdren, your host. Join me weekly as I cover various health-related lifestyle medicine topics that you get to request. This show is for anyone who wants to proactively improve their health position. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. I'm excited that you are with me again today for the next episode of Ask Dr. Deanna. Hey, first of all, I want to let you know that last week's episode, we talked a little bit about increasing energy. And I think that today's episode really piggybacks on that quite nicely because we're going to talk today about leaky gut, which actually can have a lot to do with your energy level. But you may want to go back and listen to the last episode on energy as well. So basically today I want to talk a little bit about something called increased intestinal permeability, also known as leaky gut. And I have to tell you that this is a topic that has been circulating amongst physicians for quite a number of years. And like so many things, oftentimes when you hear about something in theory, but it's not quite proven out, whatever, sometimes it's like, well, is that real? Is that really a thing? But at this point, okay, I would say probably 10 years now, there has been so much research, and there's some great research at Mayo Clinic. There's some great research at Cleveland Clinic, all on intestinal permeability issues that basically derail our health or cause us to have problems. So sometimes you hear this called leaky gut. Sometimes they call it increased intestinal permeability. I prefer leaky gut. It's easier, rolls off the tongue better. But that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and dive right in. First thing I want to talk about, what is it exactly? What is leaky gut? Well, basically it is a syndrome or an issue where your gut becomes more permeable than it should be. And so the lining of the gut, okay, has all of these cells that line our intestines. And sometimes when we are sick or we're not well or we've got this leaky gut thing going on, those cells, they are not as tight as they normally would be. They are not tightly, in close proximity to one another. And what happens is it makes the membrane more permeable. So then things can pass across that lining that should not be passing across. And specifically things like toxic food substances, bacteria, maybe even viruses, things like that can move from the inside of the intestines across into the bloodstream. Well, this is a problem because this is going to basically send your immune system into kind of a hyperactive mode because those are foreign substances that are not supposed to be in the bloodstream. So it triggers the immune system and can even go as far as to cause some autoimmune issues. So some of the symptoms that we see or some of the issues that people might have if they're having a problem with intestinal permeability or with leaky gut might vary anything from digestive issues that would include bloating, increased gas, diarrhea, sometimes irritable bowel syndrome. Sometimes people might experience seasonal allergies or even asthma. And you might be saying, gosh, how could I possibly have asthma, which is a lung issue, right? From something that's going on in my gut? Well, it's quite simple. Again, if these things have passed across the lining and they're in the bloodstream, it's going to trigger the immune system. And really, when you look at asthma, asthma is an inflammatory disease, as are so many other diseases. And that's really what's happening with this leaky gut is it is causing or has the potential to cause a systemic inflammation, which again ends up derailing our health. So the seasonal allergies and asthma, sometimes hormone imbalances can be related back to this. Autoimmune issues, you heard me mention that already. And that varies from thyroid diseases to rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, psoriasis, celiac disease. All of those have an autoimmune component. And again, when those substances cross over that lining into the bloodstream, the immune system is going to, be on high alert. And that just kind of sets off this cascade toward that autoimmune. Mood and mind, that's another big area. So sometimes things like depression, anxiety, ADD, or attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder can also be something that's triggered by this disruption in the gut. And then even skin, things like acne or rosacea, eczema. Eczema, we always say eczema and allergies, asthma and allergies all go hand in hand. But that can also be a symptom that somebody might experience if they are having a problem with this leaky gut. And then lastly, food allergies or food intolerances, which just seem to be becoming so much more common as we go through time. I can remember a time when I was in elementary school, nobody had an allergy to anything. You could bring whatever you wanted to school. And maybe occasionally you might have a child who's allergic to a strawberry, something like that. But today, the nut allergies, tree nut allergies, peanuts, etc., so many foods that kids are allergic to today. And that is in large part because of what has happened and how we have disrupted the gut and how our immune system is responding to things. So let's talk a little bit about what to do if you have any of those symptoms or you feel like this might be part of your problem. And I want to encourage you, I'm going to give you some basic steps, 4 basic steps to work on repairing this, leaky gut or intestinal permeability issue. And if that works for you, fantastic. If it doesn't, I would encourage you to reach out to a functional medicine practitioner and basically work with somebody, because this is just scratching the surface. There's so many other things that can be done to help restore balance in the gut. And the first thing, we call it the 4 R's. And the first thing is remove. You've got to remove the offending agent. What is causing this problem? And you guys have heard me talk so much about food, and you are what you eat. And so many foods are really derailing our health. All of the processed foods, if it's in a bag, a box, a package, a drive-through window, it's probably not good for you. You should put it down. And because of that, those chemicals that are in foods, chemical additives, glyphosate, so many ingredients that are basically going to disrupt the gut microbiome, which will have an impact on that lining. It's going to cause inflammation. Foods that maybe you are sensitive to or allergic to, again, can cause inflammation there in the lining. So the number one thing is to remove those foods. Get them out of your diet, for starters. Number 2 is you're going to replace. So the second R is replace. Add back the good. All of the good stuff. You want to add that back in. And specifically, you want to add back in digestive enzymes, maybe a little hydrochloric acid, good foods that are green. Green vegetables, just lots of healthy fats and vegetables added back into the diet to really help support the microbiome. Number 3, the third R is Re-Inoculate. And we basically want to put the good beneficial bacteria back in the gut. Now, you can do this a number of ways. And there are some studies that will show, there are, of course, probiotics, which would put good, healthy microbes or beneficial bacteria back in the gut. And we know that is effective. That is one way that is effective. But also there are great foods that you can add, from kombucha, just fermented, just a variety of fermented foods that can really add or increase that beneficial bacteria in the gut. And some studies show that those are actually more beneficial, especially if you're eating them on a regular basis. So that's one way to accomplish that. And then finally, number 4 is repair. So what can we do to repair that? Well, there are certain things that you can add in that will actually help to rejuvenate the lining of the gut or that gut wall. And one of those things would be L-glutamine. I talk about using glutamine all the time because it is so beneficial for the gut and just really healing the lining. It's an amino acid and it helps to decrease inflammation and just help to heal the lining. In addition, chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is something that can really make a difference in healing the gut as well. And chlorophyll is, again, think green. Green foods. I like to drink, a green shot every day that's just powdered greens. It's got some chlorophyll in it. It's also got some broken cell wall chlorella in it, which can help from a detox standpoint. But basically, if you follow those 4 R's, where you're removing the stuff that's causing the problem, removing the things that are derailing your health or that are contributing to a disruption in the lining of the gut. Number 2, add the good things back in there, get the digestive enzymes, the hydrochloric acid, as well as a lot of green vegetables. Number 3, re-inoculate, get that beneficial bacteria back in there. And then number 4, do some repair work, help to decrease inflammation in the lining, heal that gut up with some L-glutamine, maybe add in a little bit of chlorophyll. And again, for so many people, this makes such a difference for them. Eliminating sugar, getting rid of a lot of the grains that can be causing a problem as well. So many times I have people come in and one of the big issues, of course, that people struggle with is indigestion or reflux. It's very, very common. And that is very, very common with the standard American diet. Typically, and that might even be an indication that you've thrown things off, the balance off in your gut. But typically, if I can get that person to eliminate sugar and eliminate grains, so just go grain-free for a time, that's dramatically reducing carbohydrates, or at least processed carbohydrates. So reducing the grains, getting rid of the sugar, it is amazing to me that typically within a week, their reflux, okay, that symptom that they're having, that acid indigestion, is gone that quickly. And, when you're looking at healing the gut lining, it takes time, especially to re-inoculate and get that beneficial bacteria, in there and to be growing on a steady, at a steady rate. It takes time. It might take 6 months. I've heard some practitioners say, after antibiotic use, that it may take a year to get the natural flora back in the system. But what I do know is that it's possible, and it can make tremendous improvements in your health overall when you just take these simple things and make it part of your everyday living, just to focus on what foods are going to be fuel for my body, what foods are going to help my body to function at optimal levels and just make a difference overall. So I hope this has been helpful for some of you. I'm excited just to be sharing. Remember, you guys, you can go to deannaholdren.com, submit your questions there. You can also ask a question on Instagram if you like, or Facebook. And basically, we take that material, and then I typically am answering some of those questions in the podcasts that we produce. So thanks so much for joining. Be sure to plug in next week, and I hope everybody had a fantastic Valentine's Day. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed that episode. For more information, visit me at deannaholdren.com. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Deanna Holdren. I really want to hear from you, so message me. I love taking your messages and creating topics from them. Please rate, review, subscribe, and share my show with those who have an interest in health and wellness. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next week.